come back with the JD a little later, but let's play this one.
So ça veut dire on mine pour dire ini kai ki bichi, kai ki ga match on l'ame, on zi bail comme ça.
But of course, là on est en kai qui ka espérer pour taper en downstairs pour comme l'année, eh ben en upstairs. It is not complete.
Fifin, moi d'accord avec vous. Even a wall like wa pour concrete tout ça.
But how about you must have the Sweet 16 promotion continues at PH Williams then.
You mean the same Sweet 16 promotion côté PH qui ende nous bati kai nous. The same Sweet 16 qui fait nous bati downstairs nous and the wall. Well, it's back. 16% discount as we sub aggregate every block côté PH Williams up till the 17th of February.
And what I like about this promotion, only up till the 30th November to collect it.
Eh bien, c'est pas ça nous fait, non?
Nous collect Sweet 16 for free, is we?
Oh yes, c'est pay puis collect later and store at home.
Until we were able to build.
Changer the promotion ends on the 17th of February, because fair fit.
Sweet 16 Sala FPH living in Dominica.
Suspense, intrigue, theater, witty, humorous, provocative, socio-political drama, sweet melodies and modest choruses and clinical stage antics, enterprising heroics. The Dominica Calypso Association in collaboration with Heineken and Flo present the tightest semi-finals ever. Saturday, February 11th, 2017, Newtown, Savannah, 8:30 p.m. Who will be among the final 9 to face King Dice? The star-studded lineup includes Caressa Observer, Daddy Chess, Weez, and Tasha B. Also, Web, Bubbly Owner, Side Checo, Jammer, Be Comforted, Genius, Jeanette, Omi, Lucas, Healer, Stefan, JD, Beno. Nail-biting, head-throbbing, blood-pumping, no space for error or complacency. The 2017 KSO semi-finals. This Saturday, Newtown, Savannah,
The Calypso Queen competition, Thursday, February 16 at the Eddie Andre Carnival City. 10 contestants vying for the Calypso Queen title and the bragging rights of Queen of Calypso. Tasha P, Stingray Della, Hashima Mandesa, Alicia, Nashel, Johnny, Lady S, Royette in a 2-round contest. 1 original round and a tribute round to Leandra and Buple. The Dominica Calypso Queen competition backed up by the Triple K. With brass. Thursday, February 16 at Carnival City 8 p.m. Guest artist Lady V. $25 in advance tickets from Bullseye Pharmacy. You pay more later.
It's got a real bill.
Grab them by 6 bars. I come in to take my seat. I got the blue and gold. This carnival. Buy 2 6-packs and get a chance to win these amazing carnival prizes. First prize, 2 carnival costumes each from Amnesia and Hysteria. Second prize, 2 tickets to Feathers each. Sunja, boat cruise. First prize, 2 t-shirts from Carrier Bam T-shirt band. And fourth prize, 3 Casey's car. Simply write your name and contact info at the back of your receipt and drop in a promotional box to qualify to win at all leading supermarkets island-wide. Draw ends February 20th, 2017. Terms and conditions apply.
Drink responsibly.
Welcome to Q95's Lunchtime News Update for today, Thursday, February 9th, 2017. In local news, opposition leader Lennox Linton has described accusations leveled against him and his party by Prime Minister Skerrit as lies and propaganda. Prime Minister Skerrit, in an address to the state on Wednesday, stated that the UWP is responsible for inciting the violence which ensued on Tuesday night. He alleged that the plans of the opposition were to stall a truck in front of the financial center and storm the building as part of their plans to overthrow his government. But Linton, in a response on Q95's Hot Seat on Thursday, says there was no intention to threaten the security of the financial center. In other news, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness has instructed security officials to take a zero-tolerance approach in the fight against crime and violence. The announcement was made at a press conference called on Wednesday following a special meeting of the Cabinet. The Prime Minister, in outlining his government's plan to address issues such as domestic violence, sexual abuse, and the sexual grooming of minors, suggested that the nation has been brought to its knees with crime. Over the last 13 months, 86 people had been held for shooting, 67 for murder, 252 for rape, 280 for robbery, 202 for sexual offenses and indecent assault, 237 for sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 16, 169 for break-ins, while 54 were held for larceny under the category of crimes against women and children. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent condolences after a Russian airstrike allegedly killed 3 Turkish soldiers in northern Syria. The soldiers were supporting Syrian rebels in efforts to capture the city of Al-Abab from so-called Islamic State. It is part of a broader offensive by Turkey to push ISIS and Kurdish fighters away from Turkey's southern border. Russia and Turkey, who back opposing sides in the war, have been jointly targeting ISIS in airstrikes recently. And this concludes your Lunchtime News Update. I'm Linda Martin. Do join us again at 4 for the Prime Evening News Update. Good afternoon.
The Organization of Eastern Caribbean States presents its Dominica Climate Change Forum, the 3rd installment of the Vini Cose Public Forum television series. This Friday, February 10th at 1 p.m. at the Fort Young Hotel in Roseau, Dominica. You can be a part of the conversation about the growing threat of climate change on our small island states and how we as residents and citizens of the OECS region can mitigate the risk. Come prepared to interact with a diverse panel featuring representatives from the international community, government and private sectors, community groups and civil society in a relaxed town hall setting. So come chat this Friday, February 10th at 1 p.m. at the Fort Young Hotel in Roseau, Dominica. This Dominica Climate Change Forum, moderated by yours truly, Onel Sanford Bell, explores the theme Future-Proofing the OECS region in the face of climate change.
Vini Cose is funded by the OECS 10th EDF Economic Integration and Trade of the OECS Region Project.
Suspense, intrigue, theater, witty, humorous, provocative, socio-political drama, sweet melodies, harmonious choruses, and clinical stage antics, enterprising heroics. The Dominica Calypso Association, in collaboration with Heineken and Flo, present the tightest semi-finals ever. Saturday, February 11th, 2017, Newtown, Savannah, 8:30 p.m. Who will be among the final 9 to face King Dice? The star-studded lineup includes Caressa Observer, Daddy Chess, Weezer, Tasha B. Also Web, Bubbly Owner, Side Checo, Jammer, Be Comforted, Genius, Jeanette, Omi, Lucas, Healer, Stefan, J.D. Beno. Nail-biting, head-throbbing, blood-pumping, no space for error or complacency. The 2017 KSO semi-finals. This Saturday, Newtown, Savannah,
Kluber is back at Dragon Windows Detroit Tires. Kluber T-shirt Carnival Band 2017 is here. Come chat with the best band on the road for Carnival Monday. Kluber! For only $60, you get bottles, racks, bandanas, unlimited drinks, and the musical Beast of the Nation, the first serenade. Register today at Inland Revenue on High Street, and groups of 10 or more get a special discount. Bluebird Carnival T-shirt band is brought to you by Dragon Windows and Detroit Tires Inc. And also proudly sponsored by Colony Beer, Fine Foods Inc., GB Truckee, The Signman, and Lewis Whiskey. So it's a party with Bluebird on Carnival Monday. Register today.
Sit back, relax, and take your notes as we continue to connect the dots and some of the scandals facing Dominica. Kim Douglas is in Kuala Lumpur. That's in Malaysia. He filed this report on Facebook.
They were coming to you live and direct from Kuala Lumpur. Lately, Dominica is on edge. People revolting in the streets, calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt over so many allegations of corruption. A piece of news at the center of this allegation is My Dominica Trade House. So in the back, we are in the federal district of Kuala Lumpur, and this is the building where My Dominica Trade House is listed. So I came, and I went to a lot of rigmarole, had to ask a lot of questions. I couldn't go into the building. At the end, I was allowed to go upstairs. I went to the 8th floor where it is. It's just a door, and it's closed down. It is no more, and the manager said that rent wasn't paid for 2 months. So the building is closed. As we know, Mr. Monforet is now in custody in Iran over some serious deals. So the news coming through the American media more and more is of a scam whereby our government has been registering ships in Greece. So these oil tankers flying Dominican flags, and then it was being managed by Mr. Monforet in Malaysia, and they were busting United Nations sanctions to sell oil illegally to China. So, and then it's alleged that leaders are skimming a lot of millions of dollars off the top. So we need answers from our government. They need to address these issues. Now, in Dominica, we need unity. We love each other. In the diaspora, in Dominica, we are one people. We need to come together to develop our country. But the government has to answer these questions. At the end of the day, all this money being made from the registration of ships and this whole scheme, was Dominica benefiting from it? And then every time these criminals are caught, they have Dominican diplomatic passports. I want my country to go forward. I want peace, I want unity, but I also want answers, okay? So please, come clean. That's what I want to say to the government. And for the people protesting, please, let's make it peaceful. And as time goes on, as time goes by, the truth will come out. And we need peace, and the government needs to set a good example. So in ending, I'd just like to take you around because it's a very warm and sunny day in Kuala Lumpur. We're in the federal district in the center of the city. So
thank you very much there, Kim Douglas there, reporting from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He took a visit. He made a visit to the office where Monforet was actually, living at some point, or where his office was. He was told, as you just heard, that the offices are closed down. And according to the guy there, he reported that he did not pay his rent for about 2 months. So the office there, DominicaTradehouse.com, is closed in Malaysia. We're going to come back with another report. This is Talk on the Block. Here's another report making the rounds in a very popular international newspaper, World Tribune. Kimberly Benjamin takes a closer look.
U.S. national security officials were on the night of February 7 trying to determine whether an opening had arisen because of the sudden eruption of political unrest in Dominica to reverse the major diplomatic and intelligence gains of the past decade by the People's Republic of China PRC in the Caribbean, the third border of the U.S. Sources in Roseau, the Dominican capital, as well as in Washington, D.C., were questioning whether this would present the first national security crisis of the new U.S. Donald Trump administration and present a further chance for the U.S. to push back against PRC's strategic expansion and also to curtail a global Iranian sanctions avoidance scheme centered on the Caribbean. Anti-government protesters remained on the streets of Roseau, the capital of the Caribbean island Commonwealth of Dominica, late into the night of February 7. But the peaceful protest rally against Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt earlier in the day had begun to unravel as the restraint of security forces began to evaporate. Gunshots were heard in the city of 20,000 inhabitants and fires were burning. Earlier and throughout the day, the thousands of protesters in the streets of Roseau had been contained by Dominican police. There are no armed forces on the island in full battle dress and weapons, with snipers on key rooftops, even though there are few, if any, firearms in private hands in Dominica. The police riot suppression equipment was recently supplied by the PRC. The protests against the Skerritt government had risen rapidly following disclosure of a series of interrelated scandals which involved the sale of Dominican diplomatic passports to individuals involved with the intelligence services of the People's Republic of China PRC and Iranian sanctions avoidance operations. The PRC maintains the largest embassy on Dominica after Prime Minister Skerritt had broken diplomatic relations with the Republic of China, ROC Taiwan, in 2004 and opened relations with the PRC without parliamentary discussion. Significantly, the PRC now has the biggest embassy in Dominica, substantially disproportionate to the size of the country, population 72,000. The U.S. does not maintain an embassy on the island, covering it from its embassy in Barbados. People were chanting through the February 7 protests, "The regime must fall. We don't want Iran or China. Skerritt must go." Elements of the Skerritt government had attempted to deny that Mrs. Skerritt was under investigation by U.S. law enforcement for violations of U.S. law and for violations of the U.S. Comprehensive Iran Sanctions, Accountability and Divestment Act CISADA of 2010, and particularly in relation to money laundering linked to CISADA, among other issues. Prime Minister Skerritt, whose wife is a U.S. and Dominican dual citizen and whose children are U.S.-born and U.S. citizens, has an expensive apartment in New York City, valued in excess of his nominal asset value based on his earnings as a politician, and visits the U.S. regularly using his diplomatic passport. As a result, he was becomingly increasingly exposed to prosecution in the U.S. and to legal cases lodged by Dominicans in the U.S. The main questions as of late February 7 centered around what the PRC or Iran could do to sustain their position involving Dominica, or whether the exposure of series of scandals and operations there made continued use of the base untenable for them. The use of the fleet of 11 Dominican-flagged oil tankers as a key component of the sanctions-busting operation would almost certainly no longer be viable, and pressures were expected to be placed on Greece, the center of the management of the vessels, to stop participating in the Iran sanctions avoidance scheme. The exposures began beyond the Caribbean on January 1 with a U.S. CBS 60 Minutes television expose on the Skerritt government's sale of diplomatic passports to individuals engaged in illegal activities, but was further expanded by the February 3 report by GIS, or Defense and Foreign Affairs, and then by a detailed broadcast on the Dominica-linked strategic issues on the John Batchelor syndicated radio show on the U.S. Cumulus radio network on the night of February 6. Street protests in Dominica, which had begun on February 2 in Roseau, then became significant on February 7 and were mirrored by the Dominican community leaders who converged on Washington the same day. Significantly, Prime Minister Skerritt had not been visible in Dominica and was reportedly still in Athens.
That's the latest report from the World Tribune newspaper. And now we head back to the John Batchelor Show. If you missed it yesterday, here's your chance.
I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. Graham Greene loves this. However, it's real. Dominica. It's an island country in the Caribbean. Capital is Roseau. It's 72,000 people. It's small. 750 square kilometers, 290 square miles. But it is packed with mystery and sinister behavior and enemies of the United States, and follow the money. I have this from Gregory Copley, the editor and publisher of Defense and Foreign Affairs. This island is now of great interest for those who understand that the People's Republic of China is looking for an entry, a doorway into the new world in order to influence and intimidate the United States, that Iran is always looking for doorways, and perhaps Caracas, Venezuela is not enough, and Havana, Cuba's not enough, always looking for a way in. And then, of course, there is the story of hot money, of laundered money, always looking for a home. Gregory, a very good evening to you. This begins as a story on 60 Minutes, which is, a large-scale attention. It has to do with a corruption scheme taking advantage of passports or some kind of misbehavior, bad acting, in the government of Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett. How do we go from the 60 Minutes report, aired at the beginning of this year, to the wide world of threats to the United States? Good evening to you.
Good evening, John. Well, it is fascinating. We've been tracking this for quite some years, and I'm very familiar with Dominica. I've been down there many times. And in fact, if you might remember, the old Prime Minister Eugenia Charles was the one who called President Reagan and said, you've got to intervene in Grenada because they've just shot Prime Minister Bishop there and the U.S. has to intervene. So that was the Grenada thing. And Prime Minister Eugenia Charles was a profound friend of the U.S. and of President Reagan. Things, however, changed. Eugenia Charles, who was a lovely old lady I knew very well, she passed away, and the government in 2004 moved to this Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett's government. Now, there was already in place a deal whereby you could invest, if you like, money in the country, and you could get a passport. So this citizenship by investment scheme, which is fairly common around the Caribbean, got out of hand under Scarrett. It caused, in fact, the scheme itself caused the previous government to collapse, and then Scarrett came in and then took it over and put it big time. So he starts selling off passports, and including diplomatic passports, for large amounts of money. The cheapest would be $100,000 for a regular passport and so on. But the thing is, they haven't said how many they've sold, but we're just starting to see the scope of it coming out, and that was the scale of the 60 Minutes expose on.
So that's the part 60 Minutes touched, which is the sale of passports. Did 60 Minutes brush alongside the PRC or the Iranian part of the story?
Well, they didn't really get into that but that's what we've been tracking. When Scarrett came in 2004, he changed the Dominica's recognition of the Republic of China, Taiwan, and started recognizing the People's Republic of China, Beijing. And in return, large amounts of money flowed. Now, where it flowed to is anybody's guess. You've got this enormous PRC embassy just outside of Rousseau now, on the hills overlooking the city in this very mountainous little country, beautiful country. And they've done a few schemes there, building a road, building a hospital, and they bring in all of the workers, which means that the locals are very unhappy because there are no jobs for them in any of this. But as a result of this now scam-related government, all activity devoted to the traditional agriculture and tourism sectors has gone by the wayside, really. So you've got a population which is becoming very, very divided. But the Chinese are coming in there with this large embassy, much larger than is required for a country of 72,000 people. You had Prime Minister Scarrett meeting with Xi Jinping, the president of the People's Republic of China, but also meeting with a number of other interesting Chinese people, including a Macau billionaire who just happens to be now detained in New York for trying to suborn United Nations officials because he wanted some UN activities to happen in Macau. But we know also that he's also under major investigation for trying to suborn a U.S. politician. So the knowledge now is that this Chinese citizen is Mr. Ng Lap Seng, who's now sitting cooling his heels in a hotel in New York while he's on bail. He's actually linked to Chinese PRC intelligence. So you've got that side of events. Now, okay, then you had this other side where all of a sudden Dominica needs to get oil in, or energy, and so they do a deal with Venezuela, which was going to donate some oil. They set up an oil company in Dominica. They then buy 11 major oil tankers Now, this is a country of 72,000 people. How many oil tankers do you need? These tankers are actually set up and run by Greek shipping types who know the tanker business very well, obviously, but they're Dominica flagged. And the company running that is, strangely enough, based in Malaysia, running Dominican flagged, 11 Dominican flagged tankers. So, strange enough, the guy who's really running all of this is an Iranian Malaysian. So what are these tankers doing? Well, basically the tankers are involved in sanctions busting for Iran. They're taking Iranian oil and selling it abroad, and almost certainly to the People's Republic of China, hence the nexus in Dominica.
All right, let me make sure I follow this, Gregory, because we're skipping around. That's the nature of the shadowy world. The tankers are managed by the Greeks, but they're flagged in Dominica, and they're run by a company out of Malaysia, but the fellow who runs them is an Iranian Malaysian. So presumably this all connects back to Tehran. Do I have that correctly? And they're selling the oil to Beijing, so Beijing is fully aware that Tehran is sanction busting using this Goldberg machine of the tankers. Is that all said correctly?
So far, so good. And of course, Roosevelt Skerritt, the Prime Minister of Dominica, is also really, really good buddies of this Iranian chap. So now, again, all well and good. He becomes the central figure in all of this. So the next thing that is that we find that Mr. Monfared, Ali Reza Monfared, the Iranian chap running all of this, is actually skimming off the top. So although he's running this illicit scheme, he's pocketing large amounts of money. He lives in a fabulous place in Malaysia. And the Iranian government gets wind of this and, of course, is, shall we say, less than happy. So as things are breaking loose and Ali Reza Monfared's picture gets in various publications alongside Mr. Skerritt, and he's living high on the hog and giving lots of expensive gifts to the Prime Minister, the Iranian government says, okay, enough of this. So I think they did a deal with the Dominican government to have Mr. Monfared appear in the Caribbean, and then they moved him out of Dominica, and I think to the Dominican Republic, where he was then arrested and extradited via Moscow to Tehran. And now I understand that Mr. Monfared's father is already on death row there over this scamming of vast amounts of money. And quite clearly, Mr. Monfared himself is either dead or you know.
Did the Skerritt government participate in this? Gregory, did Skerritt give up Monfared?
It's possible that they did, because I think the Chinese and the Iranians probably wanted to regularize the situation once again and hope to keep it very quiet. But the arrest of, as the scandal broke about the passports, and Monfared's was one of them, and this chap, the Chinese chap, who's in New York, he's also got a diplomatic passport from the Dominicans. So all of this was coming out, so that neither the Chinese nor the Iranians nor the Dominicans have been able to keep the lid on this. So it's all coming to a boil. And of course, another one of the Dominican diplomats is none other than the former Nigerian petroleum minister, who herself has stolen hundreds of millions, if not billions. We've talked about her before. This is Daisani Allison Madueke. So she has a Dominican diplomatic passport as well, and she was, of course, head of OPEC at one stage. So her skills were particularly valuable in this, and her knowledge of the oil business and of Iran, again, very, very important to all of this.
Just a minute, Gregory. You've introduced a new element here, and we have to slow it down a little bit, because we're talking about going from sanctions busting to money laundering, and Gregory just introduced the former Minister of Petroleum of Nigeria, which you will recall is a pool of the best petroleum on the planet, now under the control of another president, but this is Goodluck Jonathan's regime. So one little country, 72,000 people, a den of thieves. I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show.
Stay tuned for more. Coming up. This is Q95, the big station.
I'm John Batchelor. Gregory Copley's here, introducing us to Dominica, little island in the Caribbean, 72,000 people, 290 square miles. However, it is chock full of thieves and scoundrels and major intelligence operations, money laundering, sanctions busting, selling passports, all we can presume with the knowledge and benefit of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt. Gregory, because we could follow down the money laundering, we understand how that works. If you're Nigerian and you've stolen billions of dollars, you need to launder it in Dominica. The same would be true for an Iranian who was skimming from his government, and that he's going to pay for that. But the PRC, I want to focus there, because this is the first time I've seen the possibility that the PRC has a doorway into the new world. I know Caracas and Venezuela and the Iranians. I know Havana and the Iranians. But is the PRC already planted in all those capitals as well, or is the Rousseau Dominica PRC, is that a big center of their operations in the New World?
It clearly is a significant center as Beijing tries to expand its penetration of the United States from the Caribbean. Dominica is very close to the U.S. and close to the other, just between Martinique and Guadeloupe. So it's well placed in the Caribbean to penetrate the U.S. And what we're looking at is that the Caribbean really represents the third U.S. border. If you've got Mexico on the one hand, you've got Canada on the other. This is the third U.S. border. It's the Caribbean. It's very porous. There's a lot of traffic going into the U.S., out of the Caribbean. And if you were the PRC, that's something you'd want as an entry point. And clearly, with the big embassy there, which I'm sure has a substantial portion of Ministry of State Security people, you've got the links with Prime Minister Skerritt and Mr. Ng, the Macau billionaire developer intelligence guy. You've got operations out of Malaysia going in there. So clearly this is a hub for a lot of things for Beijing, but intelligence penetration has got to be key. Now, the reality is that the success of this for China, for the PRC, and for Dominica has had to, and Iran, had to be that you keep all this pretty low key. And now it's no longer low key. So what we can expect is, I think, some reasonably strong pressures from the U.S. on the U.S. because the people of Dominica have been unaware of this, and they haven't been benefiting from this. Everything's being skimmed off the top for Prime Minister Skerritt and his colleagues with bank accounts all around the world, very sophisticated operation. But we've now started to see in the last few days demonstrations in Rousseau. One very, very prominent doctor who was, in fact, a U.S. Dominican citizen. He was a major in the U.S. Army Medical Corps, highly respected, and is a high-level figure in Rousseau. He was arrested by the police the other day for ostensibly fomenting violence against the government. The police were reluctant to arrest him because most of the police have actually benefited from this good doctor's works. And so, anyway, he was released on bail, but this is part of the pressure they're trying to put on people to stop talking out against Skerritt. But when Dr. Christian was arrested, large numbers of Dominicans surged around police headquarters and protested, which caused a lot of panic there with the police department. All the while, by the way, Prime Minister Skerritt has been in Greece, where he's been trying to patch up things with this tanker scandal to try to keep everything under wraps there. So you've had an acting Prime Minister trying to keep this under control. Meanwhile, in the U.S., where a large number of Dominicans are living as expats, a lot of them with U.S. passports or dual nationality, they've started organizing an opposition movement, if you like, to protest what's going on in their home country, and they're actually calling on the United States to step in and put pressure on Roosevelt Skerritt. Skerritt saying, "Look, I was elected to serve, and I'm not going to step down." But the pressure is going to start. to get
Gregory,
enormous.
is there an indication that the Obama administration knew about this? I understand that this is all fresh information, but was the Obama administration watching this happen? Did they step back? Because I see Iran is involved here, and the late Obama administration did not want to interrupt the Iran deal. Do we know what the Obama people did in Dominica?
Well, there's no question that they had a very hands-off policy towards both Iran and China.
Right.
So what they knew is open to question, but the reality is that what they should have known is really quite significant. And in fact, the U.S. law goes very much to this. Involve the U.S. Comprehensive Iran Sanctions Accountability and Divestment Act, CISADA, and that focuses on not only what was known by people to be wrong, but also what was knowable. In other words, if it was plausible that you should have known about it,
right,
then you are liable.
And it's very hard to miss 11 tankers flagged out of Dominica with Greek crews being run by an Iranian Malaysian who's skimming, and very difficult to miss that, Gregory. All right, Dominica. Well, it's fresh to me. Everybody, you can search. Graham Greene could have made this up, but he didn't. It's on the map. And the Prime Minister Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt has a lot to answer for to the Trump administration. Iran, China, Nigerian stolen money, everything in one little place. I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show.
More questions. Let's take a phone call. Hello, talk to me.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Yes.
But I'm very sorry for Dominicans right now. Mr. Skerritt, stop giving us pressure in our country. I wish Mr. Trump hold you right away, stand you up, find you guilty, found you guilty, and put you in calaboose. That's all I have to say now.
Hello, talk to me.
Matt?
Yes.
That is, Matt, I'm shivering, It's so frightening, Matt. The evangelical churches and the Dominica Christian Council of Churches, they were quick to say something. Now they have to come out, Matt, and speak and demand the resignation of Mr. Skerritt. I'm sure they have listened to the information and they owe that to Dominica. Thank you.
All right. You may say that they are very selective on the issues they speak of. Hello, talk to me.
Matt, blessings to you, King.
Yeah, quick.
You had lunch already?
Yeah, good.
All right. Matt, the Roosevelt Skerritt said that Dominica is making world news for all the wrong reasons because of what happened Tuesday evening. Matt, can you connect that to what Roosevelt Skerritt have done to Dominica through the years, Matt? And you hear the guest was saying that for years they investigate in Dominica. Matt, you heard that?
Yes.
So, we were making news for all the wrong reasons, Matt. Matt, what manner of madness that is happening in Dominica? And for real, the Christian Council of Churches and every DAIC and DADs and DDAT, they found the tongue. You know the term, the cat cut your tongue? Well, it was surgically reattached. So everybody's talking now because Rosso get a few little damage and all of that. That is the level of hypocrisy that exists in Dominica, Matt. But Skerritt said that, based on the advisory of the U.S. relating to the protest or the meeting, whatever, he said the U.S. was spot on. Because look at what happened. Matt, the U.S. was spot on just on almost like preempting what would have happened, Rosso. Peaceful demonstrations usually turn violent. But they're not precise, they're not spot on on all the criminal activities of Roosevelt Skerritt, and Roosevelt Skerritt saying he's no longer going to address Mr. Linton and them as honorable. But look at 79. Charles Sovereign is being referred to as what, Matt? Can you refer how they refer to the president? His Excellency. My God, what a contradiction. That is worse than a paradox, Matt. Blessings.
Blessings. We have our packed house this afternoon, but let's take a phone call. We'll be talking to the attorney at law. He spoke to us yesterday trying to give us an update as to what is happening to these young men, that is being investigated at this time. We'll get an update in a minute. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon to you.
Yes.
2 point quickly. In the statement by Roosevelt Skerritt, he said our freedom came under attack yesterday, the 7th. Our freedom came under attack when Mr. Skerritt told us no law, including the Constitution, can stop him from doing what he wants to do. That's where our freedom came under attack. And secondly, Mr. Skerritt made that statement, and he said he knows that the Freedom Party and UWP wanted to go into the financial center to overthrow the government. The question that I want to ask Mr. Skerritt, if you knew that the Freedom Party and the United Workers' Party were going to overthrow your government, as the leader of this country, what mechanism you put in place? Did you inform the police chief? Did you call for national security, for assistance? Who you spoke to? And what was the response of these people that you spoke to? And if you knew that they were going to overthrow your government, you think UWP and Freedom would go together to the commission? And Mr. Skerritt is just trying to play on the people's mind, but you will not be able to play on America's mind because you are destroying yourself, Mr. Skerritt.
Thank you very much. We are moving on. We have the Freedom Party in the house, but let me just connect quickly there to Mr. Ronald Charles. Mr. Ronald Charles, good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us there on short notice. We're just looking for an update as to what is going on with the young men. I know you're representing some of them.
Yes, Matt, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners. Matt, two things. Let me just say that a lot of the young persons that were arrested on Tuesday evening, a lot of them have been released because, once again, it is clear that a lot of the young men some of them were going on to their daily business, or going to their homes, and so forth. So a lot of them have been released. There are 1 or 2 orders that are still in the cell. And again, the investigators has informed me that there is still ongoing investigation as it relates to 1 or 2 clients present at the cells. So I will be hopefully having a discussion with the investigation officers this afternoon, and hopefully I can get an update as to what will happen. I do know that they were arrested on Tuesday, so we're starting to count the hours. So by tomorrow, more than likely, their time, the 72 hours would probably be elapsing, and in the circumstances.
But let me ask you a question, because the diaspora is asking very quickly. There's a young man called Oswald George.
Yes.
You see him with his flag.
Well, actually, Oswald George is my client,
right,
and I am working on this matter because, again, in those kind of circumstances, when you are working with clients, it's not fair to them or to bring out the necessary information that needs to be brought out at this point, because I am still working to. So
he's still in custody. Can you say whether he's still in police custody?
He is in police custody. He's in good health. Well, I shouldn't say he's in good health, because he has indicated that he has received certain injuries. I also ask the police officers to take him to the hospital. So I will be getting an update when I meet him this afternoon to see whether or not all those things are done. Having said that, Matt, this is the most I will comment on this issue as it relates to my client. So I will not comment further in this regard. But I'm forced to kind of touch on the Prime Minister's comments that he made last evening. I listened to it. I have not yet digested, because it is hard to digest, because a lot of the information that one sees coming out from the Prime Minister, it appears to me that he has switched position with the Commissioner of Police. That seems to be more like a police report than anything else. However, having said that, Matt, a lot of the things, we still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. one of the things that I'm still concerned about, I was hoping in the Prime Minister's address, he would be talking about reform for the young people. Because I will tell you, and I have been to the cells, and unless if documents would prove otherwise, most of the young persons are there in the cells. You're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-olds, 20, and this is the age range you're looking at. So the information that was given to the general public last evening is somewhat surprising. I know that I myself will take my time to respond to it, because I know that somewhere about the 18.42 minutes in his presentation, the name Ronald Charles was called. And now when Ronald Charles' name is called, then he put it in perspective. And I will be looking at it, and I'm trying to make sure that I respond accordingly. It may be collectively. I know that the leader has spoken about it this morning. And some of the information, Matt, is just so laughable. It is almost, you can see that there is something happening deeper than we think. And I'm of the view now that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and to put Dominica in a form of unstable, to say the least. And I am really, really concerned about these comments. I see that Anderson Cooper, I was told, was supposed to be on about the same time, and some miraculous ways.
He came on at 10 o'clock.
Oh, 10 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my bad. Withdrawn. But Matt, we have to understand that the people of Dominica deserve better. The people of Dominica have to, we have to put ourselves in a position that we can say to our grandchildren. I know Mr. Christian, Dr. Christian always speak of his 7-month-old child. And we have to be able 10, 15, 20 years from now account for them. We have to answer questions. And therefore, all I am saying is all what is being done is for a better Dominica. There are a lot of us that are probably politically moved, and therefore making it look like as if this is just a UWP thing or Freedom Party thing. To me, this is a Dominican thing. This is a CARICOM thing. This is a world thing. It's not just one person thing or one party trying to get political points over another. This is a very serious issue. Roosevelt Skerrit has not yet addressed the issues that we are confronted, the issues that are before us. And this is very disturbing. I have not yet heard him speak, I may be repeating myself, of the young people. I have not yet heard him address the allegations facing passport sales and revenue from passports as it relates to that. I have not yet heard that. I have not yet heard, no, there is a new, you played a report yesterday, Matt?
And today, yeah.
These guys are saying some serious things there, They're saying certain things that we need to take very, very, very seriously. Because if it's in the radio talk show in the US, it is all over. And don't be far from the truth. The FBI, the CIA, everybody is probably on the issue. And these are the issues that the Prime Minister needs to come and say, hey, these allegations made against me are false because X, Y, and Z. You have to come out and tell the people what it is.
Well, we are
having
hoping.
said that, let me thank you for the opportunity. Let me take the opportunity to also say a good afternoon to the people from the Roseau Valley. I see that the road network in the Roseau Valley is not coming on stream as I would like to say it, and a lot of our road users are very much under stress as it relates to our road network. I will be addressing a lot of these other issues, but I also want to quickly say we are evaluating, that is the Unity Juve Band, we are evaluating whether or not we should take part in the 2017 Carnival. But we are evaluating, and I will
We'll talk
you
further.
accordingly.
We'll talk.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ronald Charles, of the Valley there, and the president of the United Workers' Party. We have in the house the Dominican Freedom Party. We have just about 10 minutes, but I'm going to ask a very quick question, and I suspect, want them to answer to the point, because the Prime Minister made some serious accusations against the Dominican Freedom Party. He said, quote, PM Skerrit says UWP DFP attempted to, listen to this, attempted to overthrow the government. All right? I'll quote verbatim. Fortunately for us all, not every member of the UWP and DFP was supportive of the militant, irresponsible behavior of the leadership. So details of the plan, whatever plan, that he says his intelligence had given me, details of the plan had already been shared with the police and security officials. Michael Astafan, Dr. Sam Christian.
Good evening to our listeners.
Good afternoon.
Let me just ask Sam to spend 30 seconds just reading our release after the incident, and I will address your question of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael. The Dominica Freedom Party was the very first party to condemn the violence. This release came out at 5:40 a.m. It states that the Dominica Freedom Party condemns the violence. We call on the leadership of all political parties to meet by 7:30 this morning to show the world that the Dominican people are united in the desire to immediately restore order. Let's put aside our differences and focus like a laser beam to assure the safety of our tourists, our medical students, businesses, and every single citizen of the Commonwealth. Furthermore, we, the leaders, and the media must demonstrate a high level of responsibility by soberly and strictly guarding against any words or actions which may further inflame this very serious situation. The international community must be assured that we have the maturity to handle the disturbance responsibly. Finally, we call on everyone to implore God's wisdom and guidance as we immediately restore peace and tranquility to our beloved Dominica.
Well, Matt, I, for one, want to categorically deny the Prime Minister's accusations. These are serious accusations, and we'll be meeting with our attorney to see what can be done about
it. It is
that.
very serious.
Very serious. Matt, I spoke briefly to the police commissioner yesterday morning. We had a very cordial relationship, and I want to congratulate him.
Cordial conversation. Mm-hmm.
Yes, for the conduct of the police force between the time I was at the event, between 12 and 4:30. What happened after 4:30, I do not know. There are certain things that happened around 3 o'clock which he commented on, but the general public will be able to judge that because they heard it themselves. But I need to congratulate him on that. But in talking to him yesterday, I got the distinct impression that the investigation, he was just collecting information for his investigation. And then the conclusion of the Minister of Security that the opposition was involved in something illegal was, I think, very premature. But Matt, from Tuesday evening, you had Cecil Joseph, Peter Saint-Jean, Tony Astafan making accusations, okay? And I didn't know what went on there, and I'm just beginning to find out some young persons were involved in that and the details. Okay, so the PM statement is unfounded, and he must now come and tell us his evidence as to how there was a plan, because we met with the UWP and we agreed that not to incite any level of violence. We would go there with our white shirts, and we assured them on your program that is going to be a peaceful demonstration. In addition, we called on the commissioner to get the political parties involved, because Jamaica had a recent incident where the two different political parties were up to more or less in battle, and the police chief called both of them to ask their supporters to calm down and to respect each other's meetings, okay? And that was for local election. And I find it highly irresponsible and dishonest of the Prime Minister to accuse us before an investigation is even well on its way. And I'm sure if you talk to the Commissioner Nomad, the investigation is still not incomplete. So we're going to ask for an apology from the Minister of Security and the Prime Minister, because we have every right to question his conduct.
He says his intelligence tells him that you guys were trying to...
The intelligence he got from his doctorate?
To storm the financial...
intelligence he got from the doctorate?
Financial center.
You mean his intelligence from investigation? I deny he had any intelligence from an investigation. Because his statement, I do not think any police officer who did any investigation could come up with any information to support his statement.
Well, let me just say this.
I'm listening.
This is quite laughable. I think it is good comic relief after a day of tension. Really, we know dictators behave in a particular fashion. In fact, any student of history knows that Hitler, in a border skirmish, killed a number of Polish troops, dressed them in German uniforms, said that the Polish people attacked the Germans, and used that as a pretext to attack Poland. So those kinds of things happen. The United States had the Gulf of Tonkin incident as a pretext to start the Vietnam War.
Are you suggesting that the Prime Minister is behaving like a dictator?
What we do know, Matt, is that I received a lot of... I was resting in my bed during that time, listening to Thompson and Afi Mehta, two wonderful gentlemen, and they're very measured, very calm, very erudite, I would say. And while I was getting a bunch of audio and photograph and messages, as everybody was. And there's some messages where you have people, young voices who were very hostile to the workers and the people that are trying to destroy the country, and how they had guns and what they were going to do and so forth. So I believe that this was a great distraction, that those businesses that were burnt down or attacked, may have well been the work of the Labour Party in order to cause a distraction. Because we know that leading up to that, the Labour Party government was under heavy manners, a lot of pressure, international pressure building. I'm told with very reliable sources in the cabinet that, the people were very tense, they were scared, and that it was the topic of the Prime Minister's resignation was brought up. Now, I don't know anything about that. I wasn't there, but this was the situation before the event, and after the event, it's all about, workers and freedom being miscreants and all kinds of terrible names. Exactly what I warned against at 5:40 in the morning. Let's just lower down the tempo, and calm down, and let's deal with the issues. I think all of us in here are very committed to peace and tranquility. And as a professor of the All States University, I'm concerned about the parents of students overseas, just as the Ross University students. They hear of all this chaos in Dominica. They'll want to pull their children out. And we have a stake with our economy being as fragile as it is, that we protect the little that we have. So I don't think the Prime Minister was very helpful, although he did provide some comic relief, as I said. But let us focus on the serious and grave issues that are facing Dominica with the violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations.
All right, let's take a few phone calls. I'll come back to you, Michael, to wrap it up. Hello, talk to me.
Yes, good afternoon, my brother. Let me first of all just say thank you to my brother from the Valley for the work that he's doing. What I want to ask, though, is every time there seems to be conversations of lawsuits from one side, I don't understand why there isn't more proactive sense of lawsuits from the other side, given there's a collective of lawyers in that enclave, I mean, statements made last night that were definitely untrue. Why not legal? This guy talked about the airport. Nobody brought him to court. We need to. If he need help from out here, let us know. There's people that can shape the language. But I think within that speech last night is reasonable coincidence to engage this government in the courts and Roosevelt carried on his statements and the police. There is reasonable language in there, and I think we need to stop this reactionary process to this government. We need to stop this reactionary process.
Well, Michael, thank you, though. Michael, you did indicate that you'll be taking this to your lawyer.
Yes, we have a meeting coming up. Matt, this is a serious thing, Matt. Because I remember after Talk on the Block on Monday, we asked that the police commissioner bring the political parties together. You know what I heard? The municipal rep for Granby, Charles.
Yes.
Saying,
Charles.
Yes, to go with their red outfits, and to dress in red, sort of inciting, her persons to go there and cause trouble. You understand? And I do not think that the Prime Minister and his cabinet are concerned. They want to create a distraction, man. And what we need to do is not to allow him to distract us from the issue. Is this mismanagement of the funds of the CBI, is sale of diplomatics passports to gentlemen. Matt, if you have 10 friends, you sell diplomatic passport to, and 8 of them arrested. Matt, I know you're vagabond, just like those fellas. I know you're a criminal, just like those fellas.
Yes.
If all your friends are like that. And there are reasons. Tony Astafan, Peter Seja, and Cecil Joseph were also, accusing us on Tuesday evening, and there's a lot I can say about Cecil Joseph. Peter Seja was a man who should have been arrested for his abuse to the 3 people up in Lapley. Okay, and Tony, as I told you, has no moral authority to speak on that. He was involved in money laundering. This was an oldie money. He was distributing it. That was public information. Tony has not come to the people to say, no, it's not. As a matter of fact, he went to the people with a press conference to say that was money Roosevelt Skerrit negotiated for donation from the Labour Party. How can you go to the airport, receive $200,000, Matt, in a suitcase, hand 2 passports to Susan Oldie. Then a couple weeks later, you get $1 million in the account of Citizens for Better Dominica. That is hiding proceeds of an illegal action, which is money laundering, Matt. And Tony has no moral authority to speak on that.
Let's take a phone call. We have limited time. Hello.
Hey, good day to you, Matt, and good day to the panelists.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to ask a question. In a situation where somebody wants to overthrow a government, wouldn't you need the police on your side or the army? Would you need people like the public servants, civil servants on your side?
What the Prime Minister indicated, that the crowd, I just found it kind of laughable, would storm the financial center.
No, we'd storm the truck first and then run in the financial center and ask overthrow the government that way.
Only a gullible person would believe that.
Our final phone call and we'll wrap it up. Hello.
Yes, did the Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, inform the Chief of Police of the information he received from his intelligence as to the DFP and UWP wanted to overthrow his government? And if not, the question that arises is why?
All right. A good question there. Let's take our final phone call. We cannot climb in on time here. Hello.
Thank you for the final phone call.
Yes.
Good afternoon to my cousin Michael Astafan.
I know, man. Good day.
And good afternoon to Dr. Sam Christian.
Let's go ahead.
That clipping you played recently a while ago, is it Lennox Linton? Lennox made up that story too? Boy, let me tell you, if we do not get rid of Skerrit now, my friend, we will be in serious trouble, my friend. We need to get rid of that regime. We need to straighten out the police criminal enterprise as well. That's the problem in Dominica, Skerrit and the police. They are ganging up on the people of Dominica to create problems. And they are blaming Freedom and UWP. And we need to get rid of those people.
All right, let's wrap it up then, Michael.
I have not had anybody in the police name the Freedom Party, okay, or the UWP. I haven't heard them on that. I have heard them complain about the statements of the leader of the opposition, okay? But to blame us for this action, I've never heard from anybody. It's only the Prime Minister who is concocting some sort of thing before the investigation is complete. And this is serious, okay? And it has to be addressed. What I'm saying, Matt, we are not trying to run overthrow no government. We feel Roosevelt Skerrit has to resign. Here we said, in the event he resigns, whoever can show the president that they command the majority will be able to form a government. But I think the situation as it stands, with all the accusations day by day coming out on Roosevelt Skerrit without Dominicans involved. You have the recent article on his wife and the value of the property. They could never have that from how many years as a Prime Minister. So I'm not the one writing that. I don't know where the information come from. But it's in American press, so they know what they're talking about. So, and Mr. Skerrit's actions and aided and abetted by his legal advice. When you have matters before the IPO mat, and you go to Parliament, change the laws for the composition to put Dermot Southwell as chairman, and to have one Labourite appointed and the president appoint the chairman, is clearly the actions of a dishonest person, man. Why would you do that? If you're honest with the people, anytime they accuse you, you present it like how Eugenia did with the matter when they said that she bugged the office of the
Commission of Inquiry.
You have to deal with that right and expeditiously.
Sam, we have to go, but let me allow you a few seconds.
Yes, the strategy seems to be to imprison as many people as possible, to jail as many people as possible. I can tell you that I can sleep well at night, and the Prime Minister needs to ask himself that question. I'll close by saying that I myself, on the morning after, did visit with the Chief of the Fire Department and with the Chief of Police, and we had cordial relations. I congratulated them on their performance. Now,